As the mother of an 11-year-old child and as an academic who works on two different but hopefully interconnected registers, as a cultural and literary theorist and as a feminist scholar who engages with social and political issues that sometimes are recognized as work and sometimes not, this year of working from home has upturned notions of both work and home. I am, of course, hardly alone or exceptional in this. Millions of women across the world have had a much harder year. I'm thinking of the women migrant workers back in my home in India who walked on foot for days and days when India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a sudden lockdown on 24th March of this year. Overnight, the poor in cities lost their jobs in the informal sector and were stranded, hungry, and homeless as they set off home to their villages in far-flung parts of the country. These low-paid migrant workers constitute the majority of India's workforce and work as domestic workers, street vendors, and cleaners, doing the odd jobs that keep our cities running. In particular, the story of 15-year-old Jyoti Kumari, who cycled 1,500 kilometers over 7 days to bring her incapacitated father, Mohan Paswan, seated on the carrier of her cycle, home all the way from Gurugram, a suburb of New Delhi, to their home in Bihar, has continued to haunt me. Stories like these inspire me to continue to work on an online journal I co-edit with an amazing collective of writers, academics, artists, and activists. In the journal Feminist Dissent, we focus on the ways in which the rights of women and those of all sexual minorities are curtailed and fought over by a disturbing and reactionary convergence of religious fundamentalisms and neoliberal populist authoritarianisms such as those found in Brazil under Bolsonaro's leadership, Modi in India, Trump in the US, Erdogan in Turkey, and Viktor Orban in Hungary. One of the highlights of my working from home phase has been putting together a new issue of the journal, which will be out before the end of the year. Working alongside Neera Yuval Davis, Geeta Sehgal, and Yasmin Rehman, our special issues focus is on the conundrum of secular states and fundamentalist politics. What is common to almost every secular state today is that each has been challenged by right-wing, often populist authoritarianisms that have won power through democratic means and secured mandates for destroying the existing constitutions and the larger liberal apparatuses and norms of democracy. The use of democratic means such as elections to gather popular support for fundamentalist movements is a key component of these rightward shifts that mark a historic setback for the modern secular project. In recent years, the secular project has been attacked by a number of sources. It has been attacked for being rooted in racist and imperialist values enshrined in the Enlightenment. Academic critiques of secularism present it as an oppressive and racist ideology that is instrumentalized by states to curtail and manage religious differences and to oppress religious minorities. Sidelining feminist and activist work on secular struggles from the ground up, some academics have decried the ways in which secular states deploy gender equality as a pretext for advancing racist agendas and hostility towards migrants. These critics see proponents of secularism as making a claim that it is a precondition for gender equality. Against such representations, we in Feminist Dissent believe that the struggle for women's emancipation cuts across secular and religious states, which are in fact united in patriarchy and the control of women. However, the control of women is at the explicit center of fundamentalist projects globally, a fact that prevents us from flattening out differences between secular and fundamentalist politics. What we are witnessing in the paradoxical situation of the rise of fundamentalist politics in secular states is precisely the emergence of new forms of patriarchal power that need to be understood and politically challenged for feminist liberation. This also requires recalling the long histories of anti-colonialism and national liberation movements that fought for secular states throughout the 20th century. Thus, in Feminist Dissent, we argue that fundamentalist movements must be challenged from both an anti-colonial and feminist perspective. It is our view that secularism forms part of a popular fight back against authoritarianism and fundamentalism. One such popular fight back was launched by the women of Shaheen Bagh, a lower middle class, predominantly Muslim neighborhood in southeast Delhi in India. All through December 2019 and up until the pandemic forced them to leave, women came out of their homes and workspaces to sit in and protest a highly discriminatory and exclusionary citizenship bill that the Indian Parliament had passed in December 2019. The women of Shaheen Bagh made the street their makeshift home. They sang songs of resistance, they gave fiery speeches, they ran soup kitchens and mobile libraries. They inspired women all over the country and indeed around the world, as evidenced in the fact that 82-year-old Bilkis, one of the leading protesters of Shaheen Bagh, made it to Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People of 2020. Near Shaheen Bagh is the campus of the Jamia Millia Islamia University, whose students took an active part in the protests. In retaliation, police invaded their campus on 15th December 2019. Many of the women students who had been at the forefront of the protests were injured in the violence. But the students of Jamia Millia stood firm. Inspired by the courage and resilience of the women students, the poet Amir Aziz, who became the internationally recognized name when Pink Floyd's Roger Waters recited his protest poem We Shall Remember in London early this year, performed a rousing poem in Urdu that was a celebration of the women students of Jamia. In a moment of rebellious rashness, I decided to undertake translating this poem from the Urdu to English. I've never done any formal translation before. The main challenge now was how to preserve the poem's both playful and serious rebellious energy. Translation would seem to dilute that, but egged on by my friend Mehtab Alam, who has curated an amazing collection of poetry from the citizenship protests for Feminist Dissent, I forged ahead. I hope I have been able to do some justice to Amir Aziz's tribute to the girls of Jamia. I want to conclude by reading the poem that I have translated. The Girls of Jamia by Amir Aziz. Translated from the original Jamia Ki Ladkiyan. They unmask kings. They launch revolutions through subtle glances. The girls of Jamia. As they tear apart the garb of patriarchy, people clear the path ahead. When they embark stubbornly on their journey, the girls of Jamia. And when the police raise their batons and the people threw stones, and screams are heard from the slaughterhouse, and human breaths are scuffled, the sighs are stifled, the eyes downcast, and when people begin to pay obeisance to injustice and power, and when the slaves tire of fighting the masters, when the broken shards of humanity fall in pieces on the road, they clench their fists and raise a cry, the girls of Jamia. When the debased men fall even further, and stars appear to take a first look at them before ascending the skies, they clench their fists and raise a cry, the girls of Jamia. When the embers imprisoned in the kitchen fires ignite torchlights, and the melancholic sounds of prisoners' chains become the rousing call of freedom, they clench their fists and raise a cry, the girls of Jamia. They sound the death knell of the autocrat as the oppressor's land quakes and reality merges with dreams. They are neither someone's mother nor daughter, nor wife nor sister, the girls of Jamia. They are no one's honor, no one's pride, no one's home, no one's life. They live life. They also smoke cigarettes. They are the embodiment of a carefree life, the girls of Jamia. So keep your views to yourself. If need be, take cover in a hijab. They are experts in splitting hairs, the girls of Jamia. In the revolutionary songs inscribed on history's pages, in the verses written in the holy book, in their hearts and their minds, all the world's women are the girls of Jamia. Thank you for listening.